Baby, when I read that Vogue article, I said, oh my God. We're shaking the table because these are the kinds of discussions I like to see on the front lines. Now we're getting her done. But I want to really talk about this topic, even beyond what Shantae Joseph wrote in her British Vogue article, which is amazing, by the way, because I like to speak more towards the emotional realities of all the things. When Shantae Joseph, the writer of the British Vogue article, asks, is having a boyfriend embarrassing now? She mainly seems to be speaking towards the social optics of it all. She speaks about the shift from a woman being in a relationship being a status marker to it now being seen as very, very uncool. Because the girlies are not hard launching anymore. We stopped centering our relationships in every single conversations we have with our homegirls. Many of us are just simply choosing to not have boyfriends at all. She speaks to the relationship fatigue that we've all been seeing online. Singlehood is being celebrated and promoted way now more than ever. When I read the article, I read it as her speaking about the transition from women being all my man, my man, my man, to women not wanting to be seen as so boyfriend obsessed. And how interesting and kind of groundbreaking that is. It's truly rocking the world right now. She did not say that all women are embarrassed by their boyfriends. She did not say that women should not have boyfriends. She did not say being in a relationship is embarrassing, full stop. And she also really isn't engaging with the underlying emotional factors like abuse, betrayal, trauma that plague these same relationships we are so fatigued by. In this video, I'm going to be speaking about some of the emotional reasons why it seems like many women are boyfriend and partnership avoidant in this climate, and where the humiliation actually stems from. Back when I had a boyfriend, I was hella proud of that goofy looking goober. I was hard launching, okay? Posting him in my photo dumps, all the things. Because at the time, he was my best friend. A very important part of my life. We spent so much time together. My friends would invite him to our hangouts, and he was a part of my circle. It felt natural to post with him, express my love out loud, because I thought I had a great boyfriend. And subconsciously, there's this heterosexual norm when it comes to women. I was not exempt. When you think you have a great boyfriend, we have this feeling that we want to show them off. And in my case, my show and tell was mainly about showing myself and showing other women that good boyfriends do exist and that I'm being treated well and that I'm no longer in the trenches of the streets suffering with Pookie and Ray Ray. Basically showing that all hope is not lost for my fellow sisters who are really wanting to be loved. That I was marked as safe. In my soft girl era, protected, covered, shielded. And now, looking back on it, like, that's a really interesting thing to feel compelled to do. Like, where does that come from? And it's super interesting because it's not always rooted in the truth. In reality, at the end of the day, lo and behold, I was not safe. I was not protected. My dignity was not honored. I experienced emotional and psychological harm. And my sweet boyfriend didn't end up being any better than any of the other weirdos that I've been scorned by in the past. And the real humiliating part was being emotionally and physically discarded by someone that I trusted with everything. Having to remove him from all my socials, clear the evidence, clear my photo album, throw out his clothes, knowing that my friends and family had full awareness of the way he truly played on my top, played with my heart, played with my time, and basically used me to feel good about himself, to feel like the good guy, savior, white knight, weirdo, whatever he was trying to do. It was humiliating that I didn't see through his facade earlier. It was humiliating that I was fooled by someone that I really, truly, genuinely opened up to. realizing the emotional intelligence, integrity, depth that I thought he had was never real. Absolutely humiliating to realize that I had just become another one of those girls that he just so happened to snag with his soft boy act, but deeply mishandled. And I think a lot of other women can relate to that kind of experience. So I think the bulk of the humiliation from an emotional standpoint for most of us happens after we reflect on the relationship, after we come down off the high from the relationship. Hindsight is 2020. And that fear tends to live on even if we do get a new boyfriend. We're scared to post, we're scared to share, we're scared to be loud about it because it could end badly again. It stems from the fact that boyfriends have the power to switch up on us, cheat on us, use us, violate us. And it's really exhausting. It's embarrassing realizing how much we shrank ourselves, silenced ourselves, and sacrificed just to say that we had a boyfriend. And putting your full trust in a boyfriend starts to feel like a gamble that a lot of women are just no longer willing to take because the story feels like it'll always end the same. It's kind of a trauma response, I would say. And if you're a woman and you're traumatized, and you say you're traumatized, society will blame you every single time. We've seen it happen over and over again, no matter what. Truth is, way too many men are not raised to be partners. They're raised to be served. They're raised to seek approval from other men instead of their partners. They even watch their friends go on to harm and exploit the vulnerabilities of women and don't say a thing. They aren't given emotional tools, or if they are given them, they don't want to use them. They aren't taught repair, and they don't really seem to care about unpacking their childhood wounds before they get into a relationship. Relational responsibility is not a thing that most men are encouraged to guide each other on. And not all men. I hate that I have to constantly say this disclaimer, okay? Not all men, but there's a clear pattern here, and it's loud. Now, on the other hand, women are socialized to overfunction, overgive, overextend, be patient, to be understanding, to self-abandon in the name of love. We are fed pick-me Disney fairy tales from a very young age, and ideologies that tell us to submit to a man just because he's got some money in his bank account. This is cray cray. These dynamics alone create the perfect conditions for the kind of embarrassment and humiliation that is being discussed among the women collective right now. However, it's also true that all women have not had a bad experience with a boyfriend. Many women have had great experiences with men. Some women do find themselves in secure relationships with men who are emotionally mature, intelligent, have emotional capacity. They don't have to self abandon, and they have supportive family models. There are women that haven't been betrayed and disrespected and publicly humiliated. So the embarrassment isn't inherent or universal. It's extremely situational. And I also think it's important to be said and shared that these women aren't necessarily getting into these better relationships because they are better, because they've done so much work, because they've done so much internal work, or because they're so skilled and they just chose better or love themselves more. That's not always the case. These circumstances just so happen to align for them at the right place, right time, with the right person. But of course, we love to sensationalize stuff like that, and women also love to unfairly judge other women, which also needs to stop. I saw a TikToker that said, if having a boyfriend is embarrassing, you are just embarrassed of yourself because you chose him. And I had to block her because I hate a take that isn't nuanced. Because what if you chose a guy thinking that he would treat you well? that he would never be the kind of person to be micro cheating, gaslighting you, projecting his trauma and issues onto you. Because lots of women get into relationships thinking a person is one thing, only to later find out it's a different story. Not everybody that found themselves in a bad relationship at one point or another found themselves there because they hate themselves. At the end of the day, relational dynamics are so heavily influenced by so many factors. And it's too easy for us to fall into conversations that unfairly flatten the complexity of human relationship and human experiences. Let's break that up. So I guess my point is, what I'm really trying to say after saying all this is when we talk about having a boyfriend is embarrassing, first of all, we can't in good faith act like that's true for every woman out here because it's not. It's not a universal truth, so we shouldn't perpetuate that. For some women, it's not embarrassing at all to have a boyfriend. They've never felt that. They've never experienced that in their lives. And for others, the embarrassment comes from the emotional reality that they've lived. It's not always because they didn't love themselves or they just chose so wrong and it's all their fault. It's because we're navigating dating in a culture shaped by patriarchy, emotional neglect, and the toxic ways that men and women are raised to relate to one another. The embarrassment isn't actually in the act of having a partner. It's about the ways we've been conditioned to lose ourselves, the ways in which men are allowed to fail without consequence, and the emotional labor that women are expected to absorb. That's why so many of us feel this collective relationship fatigue. I think the real discussions we should be having, what patterns of behavior actually got us here? Why are the women so embarrassed and the men aren't? What does this say about how we're raised? What does this say about what we're conditioned to normalize and tolerate? What does it say about the options available to us in the current dating climate? And what needs to change so that love stops feeling like such a gamble and starts feeling safe? I think we should expand on the conversation in that direction, beyond the wonderful Vogue article and beyond the social optics of it all. Because the embarrassment may not be universal, but the system shaping it definitely are. Well, that's all I have for this video. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Let's have the deeper conversation. Let's call out the bigger patterns. That's what we really should be doing. If you have not subscribed already, please do. I am still a small channel. I'm still a baby. I'm growing. As always, stay gorgeous, and I will see you in the next one.
I get you what you want.